Hi, welcome to Flash Fantasy. Today we'll be breaking down our top 10 wide receivers to help you win your league in a flash. I'm your host, Jason, and I have Norris, Josh, and Alpi on the show today. We're going to be
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about wide receivers all day today. So get tuned in. I'm going to start us off with something I like to call one simple question. What team has the best receiving core? Tight ends included.
Okay. Tight ends included.
Tight ends included. I thought long and hard about this one, guys. All right, hear me out. The Atlanta Falcons.
I can see that. Go ahead, run off who's out there. We know two receivers and a tight end. Who's their third receiver?
You got two Bama wide receivers, right? You got Julio, Calvin Ridley,
Right.
and then you can pick, right? Because they got speedsters on the third, but they got Russell Gage, who came in last year, filled in the position when Calvin Ridley got hurt, and so I think overall, and then you have Hayden Hurst, and then I feel like the key thing for me is Todd Gurley being a receiving back. Now again, he doesn't really fill into that receiving core, I guess, but like receptions overall, I think Matt Ryan is set up to have some really good receiving guys throughout this whole year.
Right. Yeah, throwing the running back in there is cheating. That's not receiving. that would change the whole conversation.
Right. If we're throwing in running back, the Chargers make the top 5 right there easily.
Sure. So the best receiving core that I got on paper at least is the Buccaneers. You got Chris Godwin, you got Mike Evans, you got Gronk now, Cameron Brate. Pretty sure they still have their palms around O.J. Howard as well. So on paper,
they're fun.
of options, a lot of options to have on your receiving core. So yeah,
very true, very true.
What do you think, Api?
Gonna hurt to say this, but it has to be the Bucs, man. It has to be the Bucs. My boy Tom Brady's on the center.
Yeah,
he's not part of the receiving core.
New England days, you got Gronk and O.J. Howard. All I can think about is Aaron Hernandez and Gronk back in the days. And now you have these two monsters in the same lineup with Godwin and Evans. Come on, man. It's a no-brainer. It's a cheat code. I mean, you guys ever play NFL Blitz? You put the left, right. It's a cheat code. I mean, you get all these studs. It's just it stinks to say this, but I think it's on the way for Tom Brady. I mean, I think this is the most talented core he's ever played, and to know that he doesn't have to go down the field where he has these two big guys. I mean, I don't know. It's that team is looking dangerous, man. It's looking very, very dangerous, and that's going to play into factor on some of these wide receivers that I have on the list.
It might be between those two though. It honestly might be. On paper it makes sense why you guys would say that. But I think the safer option is Atlanta. Because Tom Brady hasn't been with these guys. Gronk has been on cruise ships for 2 years pretty much, doing whatever he's been doing. I think on paper they definitely have the best team, but I think what will transpire to be the best, I think Atlanta might have it in terms of Julio, Ridley, whoever else. Hayden Hurst is gonna have he's gonna have a nice year. So yeah, I'll go with Atlanta with Jason.
Let's not forget a championship in the WWE too. All right, so I'm not gonna say he's not gonna come back with vengeance either.
Yeah, I think an honorable mention could be Seattle. Now having Greg Olsen, they have DK Metcalf. You know, Tyler Lockett is a consistent fantasy, receiver to have on your team. Yeah. So I don't think that they can be, completely looked over as well.
For sure, I think they're definitely in a conversation of it. More honorable mentions that we can just kind of throw out real quick. I've seen lists where like the Chargers with Keenan Allen, Mike Will, Hunter Henry. That's a pretty
True.
good core. And then you got the Arizona Cardinals with D Hop, Larry Fitz, and then Christian Kirk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas.
The reason I don't throw them in there, Arizona at least, is like the lack of like depth at tight end.
Right.
But yeah, you have Dallas with the three-headed beast of Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee
It's gonna
Lamb,
be
and
crazy.
then you have Blake Jarwin on top of all that. But I think
Yeah.
one team
Elliott catching balls in the backfield too.
that's true. One team that's being severely underestimated, and I want it's like before we get started with our top 10, the Cleveland Browns wide receiving core. You have Odell.
I knew it.
You have
That's true.
Jarvis. You have Austin Hooper, and
Mhm.
then you have both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb can catch the ball in the backfield too. So I mean, the Browns overall. But the thing is with the Browns is we've always had this confidence going into the team, even if they had the best team on paper, and then they show up like last year, and so
Hey, I forgot. Don't sleep on Kansas City too. They got
yeah.
Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, and then they had the two rookie wide receivers last year who put up some nasty numbers. And you talk about the greatest quarterback possibly that's ever played a game. And
Oh my gosh, you saying that already?
we're gonna. Hey, I'm already left.
He's great.
So I can talk about Mahomes. You're talking about Mahomes got that monkey off the back. He got that championship. That ball's gonna be flying this year. Trust me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Now I like a sleeper idea of the best, and we talked about it late in our AFC South breakdown. Is the Indianapolis Colts with the depth of like speedsters they have out there, plus Jack Doyle, Trey Burton, and then not like Marlon Mack could catch the ball out of the backfield too. So there's that tandem that you got over there. But yeah, it's overall like it just goes to show you though the depth of wide receiver in the NFL, and especially when we talk about fantasy. So now let's get into our top 10.
Top 10 wide receivers.
I'm going to start us off with my number one. That's Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has seen my team and left my team and seen my team and left my team. But overall, he never finishes outside the top 10. He's a phenomenal talent. Dude has hands probably bigger than both my hands combined. Like it's insane. Look it up. But the opportunity that has with Drew Brees, Emmanuel Sanders being signed has no effect on his fantasy value. You've seen so many receivers come in and I just feel like Michael Thomas has still got the number one sewed up. He's Drew Brees' favorite target, and it's not like Michael Thomas is catching bombs. He catches these short passes and makes them he puts his body and plays physically enough to make the catch and go to upfield with it. But yeah, that's my number one.
My number one, that's a solid number one, by the way. A lot of people agree with you. But my number one, Chris McCaffrey. Just kidding. It's Michael Thomas. I know you. I hope you guys weren't taking me seriously. I mean, I know Chris McCaffrey is great, and he is, finished number one in PPR. But yeah, Mike Thomas, he finished number 3 overall in PPR points. One thing about Mike Thomas that makes me put him at number one is 12 out of the 17 games that we saw him play, he had double-digit targets. That's just a big attractive piece to me. Of course, like you said, Drew Brees is the quarterback, and Michael Thomas is his favorite target. He had 185 targets this past year in 2019. And to your point, he had per target 9.3 yards. And yards per catch were at a little over 11 yards. So, I mean, we know that in those crucial situations where Mike Thomas is needed for a first down, or even, if they're in the red zone and they need a touchdown, he's the guy. He finished with 9 touchdowns, over 1,700 yards. So I think that, with the beast that he is, it's tough to debate him not being the number one in the wide receiver list. But maybe we'll hear something different. I don't know.
Right. So same thing, Michael Thomas at number one. Over the past 4 years, it's just been super consistent. 140 catches at least, like 140 targets at least throughout those first 4 years, over 1,000 yards in those years. Last year, he had 9 touchdowns, and I think it's been very similar, like around that average for his whole career. So I personally think he is going to drop off a little bit, but still be a firm number one wide receiver. Like, I think with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, there will be like a split, but I think definitely Drew Brees knows who his number one guy is. Drew Brees knows the talent that he has, and he doesn't waste his time in terms of using that. So I think he's, like you said, top 3 fantasy, period, behind McCaffrey, behind Lamar, and, yeah, super solid pick, Mike Thomas.
All right, Jason, bless you, because I know you're sneezing on this ridiculous comments these guys are making right now. I'm just going to say a quote, right? Michael Thomas, I love Michael Thomas, but this quote alone was the reason why I chose this guy at number one. This is what this guy said. I love Michael Thomas. That's my brother. But he knows if I had Drew Brees my whole career, those numbers will be crack. And, guys, I am going with DeAndre Hopkins at number one wide receiver, right? DeAndre Hopkins in the last 3 seasons has had 315 catches, guys. 4,000 yards, right? 31 touchdowns. That's what separates Hopkins and Thompson is the end zone. Hopkins is in the end zone a lot, right? And I'm going to be honest, guys. The only thing that's stopping DeAndre Hopkins right now is the ice cream truck in Arizona when it's 102 degrees outside. That's the only thing that's stopping Hopkins. And I know with Kyle Murray, second season, the guy has a rocket for an arm. And you have a mobile quarterback who's going to be able to escape. It just all factors in. And let's not get this wrong. Watson was a beast. He's a great quarterback. I don't think was, bringing him down when he said that. But, can we agree that Michael Thomas coming into the league, it was a blessing that he had probably one of the greatest quarterbacks. But I'm just looking at the confidence, the new stage, the confidence, the ability to say that on national TV, to say I would be the best if I had one of these quarterbacks. It just speaks volumes to me, and I'm going with DeAndre Hopkins at number one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely solid. I think, like you said, Kyler Murray coming in and being the talent that he is, we could see some stuff. So, but we can dive into that a little bit deeper later. So, quick recap. Number one, I have Michael Thomas. Norris has Michael Thomas. Josh has Michael Thomas. And to disagree with all of us, Appia has DeAndre Hopkins. So this should be a fun ride going down the top 10, guys. All right. So for my number 2, that's DeAndre Hopkins. I think Appia hit it on the head. The only reason I put him at number 2 is just the opportunity there. Let's say Kyler Murray, there's a lot of mouths to feed in Arizona with Larry Fitz, with Christian Kirk. Now, we know Larry Fitz isn't the guy he used to be, but Kyler Murray is new into the league. I think he's built a rapport with Larry Fitz and Christian Kirk. So D-Hop's going to get fed. Don't get me wrong. And I think number 2 is why I put him at number 2. He's the best receiver on the team. Kyler Murray almost threw for 4,000 yards last year, and that's in his rookie year. I think with D-Hop there, I think it's an easy over 4,000. D-Hop's played with 10 different quarterbacks in his career already and still produced. So I think we can definitely see that with the talent like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, man. I hope that, all of us don't agree as much as we are right now in the first 2 picks, because I also have DeAndre Hopkins at my number 2. He is so efficient and he is so reliable. He has numbers that, a lot of receivers cannot top. When it comes to targets, every single year you see him with 150 or 170. Last year he had 150 with 7 touchdowns. And the year before that, he had 11 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns. Only other guys that are putting up touchdown numbers in that realm is Devontae Adams when it comes to having double-digit touchdown numbers by the end of the year. And that is a testament to not only the talent that he has, but also, the quarterback play. You mentioned that he had so many different types of quarterbacks. But we see the success that he's had with good quarterbacks and with average or even below average quarterbacks. And so DeAndre Hopkins, it's not too much that we can say that no one knows. So DeAndre Hopkins as my number 2, by the way, he had a pass touchdown last year. So he can get it done from that area as well.
Nice. So I'm sorry, Norris. We're gonna have to keep agreeing, bro. I think the top of this list is, one that I think you can't really argue it too much. But I'm gonna go DeAndre Hopkins. And so I think, being in Arizona, good opportunity. I know, like what Jason said, there's gonna be a few mouths to feed, but I think Larry's not that prideful guy that's like, look, man, because I'm old, you need to still throw the ball my way like this many times. I think Larry wants the best. Larry wants that team to win. And I know, D-Hop is going to have to be a focal point of that offense for them to see more wins. And D-Hop being there and being a focal point is going to open it up for the other receivers to have meaningful catches, meaningful yards, meaningful touchdowns. So, but I think D-Hop is definitely going to still be number 2 in touchdown range. And, you guys have said pretty much what needs to be said. So, D-Hop at number 2.
I got Michael Thomas as number 2. Like I said, the guy is an animal. I just don't – I think with the amount of talent these 2 players have, Hopkins and Thomas, I don't think you can go wrong with who you choose. But the only reason why I have Michael Thomas slightly down after having a season 1,700 yards, over 149 receptions, the only reason why I have him slightly down is that that division is going to be probably the strongest division. You're talking about playing Buccaneers twice. It's going to be, that Bucs defense is coming back, and they're tough division, and I just see those games are going to be, games going to be tight. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you struggle against those big games. You know what I'm saying? Michael Thomas was probably tearing up the Bucs last season because James Winston was throwing interceptions left to right, so obviously he's going to get more traction, more get the ball more. They're going to have more possession in the offense. But I just think now with Tom Brady in the center, you're talking about 2 games now where he's going to have to battle. And it's just Tom Brady does make it a difference, I think, in that division. And going to be some games, going to be some battles, and I just don't see him torching the Bucs like he did last year. And another thing too, Alvin Kamara, he's due for a bounce back season. With Breeze out for a couple games and Kamara hurt as well. Alvin Kamara in the backfield, he's a problem. I was in there with the segment last week, the running backs, but I got Kamara top 5 in my fantasy, and I just think he's going to make a difference this year. If the Saints want to do something, they have to have Alvin Kamara a big piece of the puzzle for them, and I think that's just going to hurt Michael Thomas. Probably 100 yards, so he's going to still get 1,600 yards. But you can't go wrong with the 2. I love Michael Thomas, and if he's there, I'm 1 and 2 it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be a tough decision to make. So, Michael Thomas.
Yeah, and I respect what you said, but if you look at the past 4 years, 3 out of those 4 years, Michael Thomas had over 100 receptions in each of those, 3 out of the 4 past years. So, for you listeners that I guess are weary of seeing a new receiver out there and seeing Alvin Kamara, like you said, I do agree he's going to have a bounce back type of year, but you don't have to worry about Mike Thomas not reaching 100 receptions or seeing 150 plus targets because again he's number one. But
Yeah.
Brees is getting old too. I mean that plays into the factor. I mean, you got to see, man. Is Brees didn't have a healthy season last year. Well, I think he missed like 9 games last season. So I mean, who's the backup? Teddy's now gone, right?
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston.
Oh, that's right.
Jameis,
Forget
33 touchdown man.
done for you can kiss it. I mean, you just kiss it. Those are things I guess you got to factor in too. Is if Brees goes down, I mean, getting older, man. He's not getting younger as we speak.
I think that's a solid point with Drew Brees, especially like of his age. I think that's a big reason for me to put Michael Thomas as number one because this is like an all or nothing for Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't see something producing this year, I mean, and it's interesting, and we'll probably dive into that in another show. But like Drew Brees signing a contract with like NBC and all that, and his retirements. We could probably have a whole show just about Drew Brees. Anyways, let's move on to number 3. But before we go, quick recap. All of us pretty much with D-Hop. Again, Oppie disagreeing with Michael Thomas. And, now with our number 3, I'm going to actually go with Davante Adams with my number 3. I think Aaron Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder. Getting Jordan Love in the first round, the Packers didn't get any other skill position players to mess with Davante Adams, wide receiver 1 role on the team. I mean, they have Allen Lazard and they picked up Devin Funchess, but we've seen Devin Funchess bounce around and not really affect any other wide receiver roles. So, but I will put Devin Funchess on your guys' radar. I think maybe as a wide receiver 2 for the Green Bay Packers, we've seen a lot of talent, and then Davante Adams being injured last couple of years, last year at least. So yeah, that Davante Adams fills that number 3. Plus his touchdown rate is incredible as a wide receiver. So yeah.
All right, number 3, Adams. Well, my number 3 is filled by the Alabama icon in Julio Jones. It's tough to not. If he's not in your top 5 receivers, just do yourself a favor. Leave the league or leagues that you're in. Don't even play. Like, don't even worry about winning the league if he's not in your top 5. But he's in my number 3 in this case. Just listen to these numbers. Okay, so from the year 2014, think back to when you were a wee lad. 2014, 1,500 yards, 1,593 to be exact. 1871, 1409, 1444, 1677, 1394. I'm giving you some ancient numbers right here. Like, these are phenomenal. I was making a joke about like how these could be, old dates, whatever. Cool. But the man is a beast. We have Matt Ryan throwing the ball to him. Honestly, when I was shocked when I was reminded that Julio has been in the league for 10 years. And honestly, I'm kind of disheartened because there's going to be a day soon where he's no longer going to be in the league. And I just love watching this man play. He goes up and gets the ball at any given moment. I'm sure you have seen the highlight of him in the playoff game where he snatched that ball from the beloved, I believe it was the Patriots defense.
I think it was Gilmore that he snatched it from.
It happens sometimes, But yeah, he's a guy who had 99 receptions last year, over 1,300 yards. He finished second in yards last year, and number 3 in points in PPR. So I just think that he is a phenomenal talent. He is definitely a Hall of Fame guy. He had to be my next logical choice. I respect Adams, but Julio definitely has the edge. I will give this. He had 11 games last year with 0 touchdowns. I will submit that. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, he is a beast. And I'll make sure I'm a realist, y'all. I try to stay objective. in 11 games with 0 touchdowns, that is unacceptable for even me trying to hype him up in the way that I am. But he's Julio.
I would have scored a touchdown.
Oh my goodness.
It was. Don't ever disrespect Gilmore like that. It was Malcolm Butler who he stole the ball from.
What's the difference?
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Gilmore's nasty. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and agree with my guy Norris. I got Julio at number 3. Similar reasons, like super consistent, and yeah, like you can say there's some issues there with the touchdown department, but he still finished number 3, and he's not touchdown dependent. Like that's actually reassuring. It's like, okay, he scored a touchdown. I'm definitely probably gonna win this week then. Like if he doesn't, then he's still top 5 guy. So I have him at number 3, similar reasons that Norris just mentioned, and it's good to know that, look, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he still can put up 20 points for you. 100 yards, 10 receptions, like he could still do that. And if he puts a touchdown on top of that, then, yeah, man, you're looking at 26 points easy. So, yeah. Julio Jones, numero 3.
All right, guys, I'm just going to read these stats, and you guys tell me if this guy is deserving of the number 3 spots. Ready? Last year's 2019 stats. 593 receiving yards, 61 receptions, 6 touchdowns. He missed 4 games due to a hamstring injury. I'm talking about no other than Tyreek Hill, fellas. Tyreek Hill at number 3, guys. The fastest guy in the league. I don't know if you guys saw that touchdown that he didn't score. His teammates scored, and he was a mile and a half away, caught up to him. But Tyreek Hill is one of the most dangerous athletes on the field. That's Mighty Mouse. The guy's the fastest guy in the league. Let's just not forget, the key factor here, guys, is he has the greatest quarterback of all time throwing the ball to him. And we got – if we get a healthy Tyreek full season, guys, I think the year before he had over 1,000 yards, and he's a wide receiver 1 there. I mean, Watkins the backup. Travis Kelce's there too. Like I said earlier in the podcast, Mahomes already got that monkey out the back. Now it's time to chase those numbers. It's time to pay man numbers. I'm talking over 5,000 yards. I mean, Tyreek Hill is going to play a big factor into this, and he also played, with that, the whole what's it called, the abuse of his child last year. He had to fight that. That was going back in his mind. So I just think with a clear Tyreek and a healthy Tyreek, I think we're going to see something we've never seen before, and I'm excited to see what Tyreek will do this season. It's a stretch. Julio's a great wide receiver. But like Norris said, those the TDs, 11 games without a touchdown. I mean, it was to start the season off, 11 games without a touchdown. I think he started picking it up. But another thing, Tyreek over here, in his first 4 seasons, he has over 4,100 yards. So I just think, and I mean, the only thing that's stopping him, guys, is his own hand. Like he is so fast that he messes up his hamstring all the time. And that's just crazy. But I just think, coming off the Super Bowl season, championship under your belt, I think now it's time to have him more fun than what he's been showcasing in the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like praising Kansas City Chiefs a whole lot, but let's recap for our listeners out there. Number 3, Devontae Adams for myself. Norris had Julio Jones. Josh had Julio Jones, and Oppie with Tyreek Hill. And like I said, I don't like praising Kansas City Chiefs a whole lot, so I'm gonna make this very quick. And my number 4, I have Tyreek Hill.
Ooh, let's go!
The speed is there. He has a cannon as the quarterback named Pat Mahomes. And not just that, but with Tyreek, his yards after catch is incredible. And like, there's so many highlights that you could pull up, and hopefully one day we can work on our editing skills. We could show you the highlights ourselves, but we're getting there, people. But yeah, I think overall, Tyreek is a monster. He's the number 1 wide receiver out there. The only person maybe taking targets from him is Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming in, and that's why he dropped to number 4 for me, is the new running back. And we know that Andy Reid loves running backs, giving them more opportunity. And Andy Reid didn't have that consistent running back last year with Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy. It just wasn't there. But man coming from LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a beast. Make sure he's on your guys' radar. He's being drafted, I think, a little too early, but definitely keep an eye on him because Andy Reid loves using his running backs. So that's why I think Tyreek fell just a little bit from 3 to 4 for me. But, yeah, I think overall Tyreek is still going to – if he could stay healthy. Now, remember, people, like our top 10s, some of them are based on in their injuries. Some of them we know that they can stay healthy through his season and produce being healthy. But if not, of course they're going to drop after an injury of some sort.
All right. That's a solid choice. I mean, I respect Tyreek Hill, but I have to go with Davante Adams with my spot because Davante Adams, okay, so I'll make this nice and sweet. Davante Adams had 4 games last year with single-digit targets, okay? Let me just give you a little bit of information on what his games looked like throughout the week. Give me 1 second. You can.
I'm waiting.
It's coming.
And
Hold
on. I'll be cutting this out.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. Because I meant to write it down, but I didn't. Okay, so the targets per game, just from week 4 to week 13, he had 15 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets, 10 targets. And then from 15 to 17, he had 13, 16, and 13. That is so much opportunity for him to make just big plays and get into the end zone and whatnot. And, the one thing about Davante Adams, in the past 3 years, he had 35 receiving touchdowns. 35, 40 in the past 4 years. So whatever concern that you might have of not getting a lot of yardage throughout the year and not being a 1,000 yard man every single year, just know that last year he had 5 touchdowns. Before that, he had 35 combined touchdowns in 3 years. He on top of his route running skills, and plus he has Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to him. Listen, his route running, according to Chad Ochocinco, is immaculate, and it made him shed tears. So if Chad Ochocinco is endorsing you and putting you up there, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to put you in my top 5 because I respect Chad Ochocinco / Johnson for his critique and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, he finished with 212 total fantasy points. That's 24th in the receiving, but 69th overall. Not beautiful numbers for me to compel you with, but 40 touchdowns receiving in the past 4 years. That's why he's in my top 5 and at my number 4.
Sounds good. I'm going to, again, line up with Norris. I got Davante Adams at my number 4. I don't think he's going to do – I know a lot of people are saying that Aaron Rodgers has his fire lit under him. I don't think that has much to do with his situation. I think Aaron Rodgers is done with Green Bay. And I think if Aaron Rodgers has a year like he had last year, he's still going to have a job. He's not going to end up like Cam, stuck somewhere, not being able to do anything. He's not going to end up like Jameis Winston behind somebody else. He'll go somewhere, have a job regardless of like if he plays super great just because of who he is. But I do think it's special to know that this man, Davante Adams, played 12 games and still almost put up 1,000 yards. There's plenty of receivers that have a nice name and they can't touch that even with 16 games or playing 17 games. So I think, and having that on 83 receptions, having a full year with Aaron Rodgers, I think we know what he is like. And it's tough. Like for 3 and 4, that can be interchangeable. In my opinion, you can put Davante where I had Julio, and that can work. I wouldn't blame you, but I definitely think the top 4 guys that we've mentioned, well, that I've mentioned at least, with Davante, Julio, DeAndre, Michael Thomas, I think they're the solid top 4. And then once you get into 5 and the rest down, it gets a little bit more complicated for me. But I believe that Adams deserves to be number 4, could be number 3, but I think he's going to have another solid year if he's able to stay healthy, and that's what a lot of this depends on.
Guys, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't even have Adams in my top 10. Let's just put it like that.
Wow.
What?
I'm
Say
not-
that again?
I'm not saying that for once.
I don't have him in my top 10, and I'll
Remember what Norris said last pick? Like to drop all your leagues? I think you can do that, bro.
You might be the only man on the earth that doesn't have him in the top 10.
Listen, I don't think we might see Rodgers in a Green Bay uniform anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time somebody was upset with the team, they ended up with New England. Let's just put it like that. And I'm more of an eye test guy. Like, if I see a guy on the field, I really don't. Stats do play a factor, but overall, it has to be an eye test. Like, for instance, Tyreek is an eye test. He didn't put up ridiculous numbers, but you knew what he's capable of doing. And I was just waiting for Davante Adams to explode. Remember, this is his first season without Randall Cobb and without Jordy Nelson. The seasons, he had Jordy Nelson when they were nasty. Cobb was putting up numbers. Davante Adams was number 3. Last year he got moved. Last year he was a clear wide receiver 1, but he still had Randall Cobb. And this was his first season alone. And I mean, the numbers are great, but it wasn't there for me. But here's my number 4 pick, and that's Julio Jones. Okay, yes, Julio Jones, 1,300, 6 straight 1,300 receiving yards, 6 straight seasons. Come on, man, that's a career for some of these guys in 6 seasons. And I think the key factor here, guys, is Matt Ryan. It's a bounce back season, and this is shove it or put it. I think this is it for Ryan. If Ryan doesn't have a good season, I think it's time to start looking and investing in another franchise quarterback because can't get it done. And this is Matty Ice's. I think this is his last test right here. I mean, they got Gurley, right? They just picked up Gurley. So now he has that running game. He has a running game back that took Atlanta to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And hopefully Gurley, remains healthy and that the team is capable of doing good things. But yeah, I think Julio Jones at number 4. Again, I wouldn't even be upset if they picked up Julio at number 1. I mean, the guy's just a consistent. First ballot Hall of Fame, guys. 10 years in the league. It's just ridiculous. I don't think we've seen anything like this. I mean, the guy is ridiculous.
Sure.
Inside the scrimmage lines, and it's just can't go wrong with Julio Jones at 1, at 2, or 3, or 4. But solely speaking, on my list, I have Julio number 4, and he's just a beast, man. He's just a beast.
Yeah, I think that's solid. So for our number 4 picks, we have Tyreek Hill. I chose Tyreek Hill. Norris chose Davante Adams. Josh also chose Davante Adams, and Api with Julio Jones. And to keep this short and sweet, guys. Julio Jones also my number 5. I dropped him. I love Julio Jones. I usually have him my number 3 or number 4 spot, but I put him to 5 because I feel like, one, we saw what Austin Hooper did last year, and I think Matt Ryan relying on the tight end is something we could see up and coming, continuing. So with Hayden Hurst there, and not only that, Calvin Ridley I think is poised to have a breakout year. And his rapport with Matt Ryan's only grown. Not to mention, Julio is not getting younger, guys. Now, I'm not trying to comment on it like he can't do what he's doing. He's going to be a beast. I mean, he doesn't need a touchdown to put up fantasy points. And that's what you're looking at. You could, at the end of the day, I don't care if they're 45 years old, still running routes. If they can get me points, they get me points. So, yeah, Julio Jones, number 5 for me.
Okay. Yeah, my number 5 slot is filled by the young man, Tyreek Hill. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan, as you all know if you were watching the top 10 quarterback list. He was my number 1 quarterback. So I just think that, with Tyreek, even though last year, that's an exception, we see that he was dealing with some issues, personal and health-wise. And he still finished with 860 yards, 7 touchdowns. He finished wide receiver 30. And I'm okay with that because I know what Tyreek Hill is capable of. Any given game, he could be a 2-touchdown performer. And not only that, he can have, the 8 targets within the game, 5 catches, and have like 110 yards or something like that. So he's such a great wide receiver with a great quarterback. And I mean, don't forget, guys, just last year, 2018 season, 1,400 yards with 12 touchdowns on 87 catches. Like when you see that number, like when you see 1,300 and 1,400, typically guys have at least 100 receptions. He had 87. And in that year, he was nearly, he was like 3 yards shy of doubling his yards per catch as opposed to his yards per target. He was getting 10 yards per target and 17 yards per reception. So the man is, who Tyreek Hill is, Cheetah. We know who he is. So he's in my top 5 at my number 5.
For those listening, it's cheetah as the animal, not cheater. I just want to make that very clear.
If I was from Boston, then that clarity could have been made. But I don't speak like the Bostonians.
Yeah. Well, moving along, I'm with you, Norris. Again, that's 5 in a row.
You stop.
I got Tyreek. I promise we didn't get together and work this out. But
right.
Tyreek Hill at my number 5. Tyreek Hill at my number 5, the cheetah, peace out type of guy. So best quarterback in the league is thrown his way, yards and bunches, as Norris was just mentioning. But I have him at number 5 only because of him not getting the receptions like these other guys do. These other people in the top 4, they get about 100+ receptions, and they still get those kinds of yardage. So that's the only reason why he's at 5. Now, he could see more receptions, staying healthy and things along those lines, but he also doesn't really need it. It's very similar to, like, the catches that Julio gets makes up for his lack of touchdowns. But Tyreek's yardage and his touchdowns make up for the lack of receptions that he gets. So there's still a great balance there. He's definitely a top 5 talent. And I think them being on the same team at a young age and they still haven't had to figure out different contracts and them continuing to just move forward, they're just going to build a better and better rapport with each other. And that's going to be a dynamic duo for a long time. And I think that Kansas City's not going to let them go unless something wild happens where Tyreek continues to get into more issues and ends up maybe like an AB. But I doubt that's going to happen. I think he's going to definitely get back with the team, get his mind right, and the game is going to be more important. He's going to keep himself in line to be able to continue to play. But solid top 5 option. He's my number 5 guy. And yes, sir.
Number 5, I'm going to go with Show Me the Money, Dallas Cowboy, Amari Cooper. Going Cooper with number 5. Cooper just signed a big contract this offseason, and he's going to show his worth. I mean, he's going to go on that field and show why Jerry Jones paid him the big bucks to play. I don't know if you guys remember, but Cooper had a phenomenal first half of the season. He was going off 100 yards here, 100 yards there, touchdowns left to right. And then, injuries hit him towards the end of the season. I think he had an ankle injury or a leg injury and slowed him down. But that was the only thing that slowed him down. I know I made a mid-season trade before the trade deadline last year. He put up a solid couple of games for me, and then he got the injury bug, and I was like, dang. But, I mean, just those 2 games that I had Cooper for, the guy went off. And, last year he had almost 1,200 yards, 79 receptions, and 8 touchdowns. And I think those are just monster numbers for a guy who missed a couple of games. But he fought through the injuries. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some games he went out there. I think there was one game he went out there with the injury but played 1 snap. So, the guys, he's fighting. He's not soft, He's going out on this field. And let's talk about his drop rate. He's not – his drop rate decreased last year. That was one of the big struggles he had with Oakland. He was dropping the ball a lot, but his hands are getting better. I think the rapport he has with Prescott is getting better. I just don't think Jerry Jones would invest in a wide receiver if he didn't have the complete confidence that this guy was going to tear it up. Remember, they had Des Bryant a couple of years ago. They didn't want to pay him. And when you talk about Des Bryant, he led the league in touchdowns, for a while. When I led the league, but combined overall, and Jones wasn't paying him the money. And I just think that, giving Zeke a contract and now giving Cooper a big contract, it just shows the confidence they have in Amari Cooper. And, guys, I want to say he's 24, 25 years old, still young, and
25.
best seasons are yet to come. So I got Cooper at 5.
Yeah, I think that's solid. We've seen Amari Cooper grow with Dak Prescott. But quick recap, Julio Jones for my number 5. Norris has Tyreek Hill. Since Josh and Norris had the same list, Josh has Tyreek Hill. And Afi has Amari Cooper. You guys ever, quick side topic, but you guys ever, cheat off of a test and get caught?
Yeah, go ahead.
Same exact answers and everything? Josh, I think you're caught, bro. I think you're caught.
We'll see what happens. We still got a list. A whole 5 picks ago.
Is your fantasy league doing a draft? Do you want to make it look super professional? Do you want to make your draft the best draft possible? Well, then go check out our friends at draftwithredzone.com. And you can even use our referral code to get you $10 off. That's draftwithredzone.com/discount/flash. That will help you guys get you $10 off and help us grow in our fan base. So go ahead and check it out.